controversy was, just to expand, forgive me one more soundbite, Calvin. It was Majid Nawaz's show where he made the comments that apparently led to this morning. And this is where you'll hear him reference these cameras a couple times here too. Take a listen, Stop 5.
I would encourage mass removal of the surveillance state, because once it's there, you cannot remove it.
Are you interested in testing the law around this if some people get arrested?
I would be happy to be arrested myself.
So he starts off by saying removal of the surveillance state, and you remove the surveillance state. Nobody can remove to remove the surveillance state. You need to remove the law, because removing the cameras won't remove the state, because the laws are put in place to have the cameras there. So he starts off. He opens up the conversation, right? He starts the conversation. He starts his piece, his words, in the context of removal of the whole thing by lawful means and everything that entails, including the law that governs it, right? So that is how he enters into this dialogue. And then the other person comes in. So he's entered a dialogue of the complete removal of the entire system, lawfully, politically, and physically, the whole thing. That's how he enters it. Although I have just watched this once, I'm watching it back again now. But then he does say, I'm happy to be arrested. So he did throw himself in it then, but he said he'd be happy to be arrested. He almost like offering them to come round. But if he sets the context of what he's talking about before this other person then comes in with this other dialogue.
So, I won't be, when I go out and take their cameras down, which I will be doing, I will.
Right, he says, when I go out and take the cameras down, but what cameras? He says we're going to remove he said remove cameras, but he didn't say ULEZ cameras at that point. He never said ULEZ cameras. He just said take the cameras down. But it could be any cameras. Could be taking any cameras down. That could be taking, cameras off a police officer's shirt. He said take the cameras down. But what cameras? Which ones? And what cameras? And if he'd started off the context of the conversation by saying that he's going to remove the entire surveillance state, his political... By the way, how can he do that? He's got a political party. Right, let's get some more context. This is not Joe Bloggs or someone walking out of Lidl with a fucking supermarket bag, right? This is the leader of a political party with an MP who has the means to remove the ULEZ. He's in a position to remove ULEZ entire state and cameras. If he wasn't in that position, if he was just walking out of Lidl and he said, right, I'm going to take a whole surveillance state and remove it, how are you going to do that? Well, unless you had a petition going for it, but if he didn't, how would he be doing it? Just by removing the cameras is illegal, but not to remove it politically, the entire surveillance, the whole thing, the whole law and the whole framework of it. And he's in a position to do that. And that's why he's legally protected to talk about it, because he's in a position to do it, and that's why he's on the programme.
Taking my phone with me, so they know exactly where I am. Because the Blade Runners are clever. They know what they're doing. But I would happily sit there and sit in court and go, who voted for this? What's your evidence for the Outer London Clean Air Zone? What's your evidence?
So, okay then, so now he's talking about going to court. He's saying that he will go to court. But he didn't actually... A lot of the time, in defence of Lawrence Fox, when he's on his programmes, on his own channel, he does talk a lot of shit a lot of the time. A lot of times he does actually... I mean, it's not a good thing to say that, but it's true. He does talk nonsensical. In fact, at the house when he got arrested, he was blathering quite a bit. So he actually did open it up in the context of removing the whole system, the whole state. And then he just was going about, take cameras down, but he didn't even say ULEZ cameras. But now he's saying that, if he did get arrested for something, right, taking some cameras down, but never said ULEZ ones. It could have been any cameras at that point. Then, he said he'd be happy to get arrested. So he was kind of inviting it round, really. But saying that, if it was an average member of the public who was talking about taking the cameras down and didn't have a full way to politically remove the whole system, the thing is, because he started the context of removing the whole state, he had that in his mind and his head, because he said that. He was talking about removing the whole thing. And the thing is, he is the leader of the party, and he's representing the party, and he's talking about what he's going to do politically. And if it comes into daily life, there are people going around removing the cameras, but a lot of those people are signing petitions as well to engage in. Many of these people are pursuing getting them removed. We're getting back to the whole HS2 thing now with the trees, like people are trying to protect the trees, and now apparently they're scrapping HS2 last time I heard, and all these protest groups and encampments have succeeded, but there's a lot of trees they could have saved in the process. The whole thing, there are issues going on in Atlanta at the moment when they're trying to do them for racketeering, when that's a business charge, because political activities aren't racketeering because it's not for profit, it's not commercial, you're not even pretending to be commercial. That's why it's protected. You can't have it for racketeering for political, and this is the thing with the whole the thing is, the whole government could be racketeering because, we will let these people to represent us, but when they do things that they want to do, not what we want to do, and then they charge us money and then they start changing the laws, isn't that racketeering? It's heavily organised. In fact, it's the whole country. The reason that you don't charge them for racketeering, if they do that, then because it's more like there are more serious crimes when it's MPs. If the MPs were, doing what was equivalent to racketeering, because it is political nature, political engagement, it's not like a commercial business. It's running the country. So it isn't racketeering, even if they are doing what racketeering, even if they're intimidating people and extorting money out of people, and it's run fraudulently, which is the equivalent of racketeering. They're not pretending to or claiming to run a private business. They're running the country. So it's not racketeering then, is it? It's perverting the course of justice and perverting the course of politics and treason, and also like subverting the liberties of the realm and stuff. It's more serious than racketeering, Whereas the thing with the police aren't government. You could get the police and the contractors for racketeering, because the contractors it is a business, although they've got the contracts on the council, which is running the local council and government, but it's a commercial company that has got a contract for the government. So on that basis, they've got a business. This is why, commissioners aren't supposed to be making money out of decisions on the council. This is why Rees-Mogg and Nancy Pelosi and people like that are in a ridiculous position, that they should never be allowed to have investments and stock market shares. A lot of ex-police have got stock market shares anyway, but I need to find that legislation, what that act's in, because I don't think that Sunak can do what he's doing now, because in that act with the commissioning of works, and if people are making a profit out of it in the government, they've got to stand down. That basis and principle. The thing is, Mogg at the moment is denying that that he can't be on GB News. He's saying that he can be on GB News when he can't, and I severely don't think that he can be on GB News at all whatsoever, because he's an MP. But he's totally denying it. So if Mogg's doing that, which he is doing that, then when you look at the principle and basis of what it said in that act that I read, which it's absolute clarity that if you're commissioning works for local council authorities, you can't be making a profit out of it yourself. That's basically what Sunak is doing, but not as a commissioner of works and decisions being made in a local council. He's doing it for the country. But why is it illegal for it to be done in a local council? Because you're not allowed to do it. So, this is the thing with Sunak. So Sunak really, and a lot of MPs are in a Rees-Mogg sort of spot position, like Pelosi, really, and that is in complete and total denial of fact and truth. Now, if they want to pull the axe out where he says they can do it, then I think those acts have been enacted unlawfully and incompatible with the previous laws, which they're doing all the time. They're just coming up with a lot of, they're enacting laws now through government, which they can't even make, And this is like Gordon Brown, with his Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act and all this, like, total errors. I mean, even Rees-Mogg has said, he's come out of his mouth. Rees-Mogg said, the Privileges Committee was, disaster from the start. This is what you get when you've got, MPs who aren't on the same wavelength, MPs who are a sandwich short of a picnic. They're not all of the same intellectual capacity, and they're not, they might sound like they think they know what they're doing, and they might claim they think they know what they're doing, but they don't actually fully know what they're doing. They're making a cock up of it all. Maybe, the whole English law is kind of a little bit shabby, like, Leaning Tower Pizza, but I think that from reading the previous laws and acts, there is a certain intellectual insight in it, which is almost like, in old movies and films that are quite clever and make a good point, and now as we're getting on, they've got flashy, fancy effects, but the meat, the substance in them isn't, substantial. Now you've got all these fancy words and elaborate vocabularies, but, it doesn't, it's like, the ends don't meet, it doesn't, it's not compatible, and it's in error. It's in error and it's not compatible, but yet it's flamboyant. It tries to be witty, poetic, dozy-do, to the left, to the right, and like acrobatically, linguistically, it tries to show off with its conning you, like some sort of enigma poem, the dozy-do to the left of the right, if it contradicted the 7 back to the 4 to the 3, and no one knows where we are, and I cut down a tree, it's like, what does that mean? We're not supposed to know what you mean. I'm so cleverer than you because I know what it means and you don't, because it means, this is it, refer to 7 back to 3, back to 4, back to 5, 5 steps to the left and 5 steps to the right, and then you go, well, just a minute, but, this provision here writes the whole thing off and makes it not valid. Aha! This is it. The Mad Hatter, this is it. Well, if you know X, Y, and Z, then it's not for you, it's for me, this is it. And then you find out that, well, actually, the person who made the previous act, based it on the one before, but he misread it and didn't understand it properly, like with the seatbelt legislation, and it's just, he just conjured it up, it's not compatible or coherent on what it presumes to be built on, this is it.
Why are you doing this? I'd sit there and do it, but I do that. I've got several court cases.
He would. He said, I'd sit there and do it, but he didn't say he's going to. Is he going to? He said he would, but that doesn't mean that he will or is. This is where we get like black belt barristers in, this is what black belt barrister, mister, did you say you would? Or may? This is the courtroom interrogation of the exact wording. Mr. Smithson, did you say that you most likely may visit Mrs. Simpkins, or that you would, should, or could visit her if the time and opportunity was quite there or may be there? This is it. he actually said that he would, but he didn't say that he will or is, at least in that phrase.
No, but yeah, I would.
He would. He said he would.
So
He
then
didn't say.
saying, I
He said that's it. He said he would, but he didn't say he will or is going to. And would, would you jump off a bridge? That doesn't mean that you are going to or you will. And that is the whole thing of what, these tacky, Starmer, Crown Prosecutor, shabby tailored suit, cheap supermarket suit, and Crown Prosecutor Ray leaning over the fucking bar on a 5 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, getting drunk, comes, he's a used car salesman in the courtroom. I'm a Crown Prosecutor, I put a show on now. Oh, I've seen a show like this before, kicking the tyres on the old car, comes round, it's a bit of a runner, turn the key. Oh, you know how to start it up then? A Crown Prosecutor who knows how to ask the right questions. He's a little bit confident in this courtroom. Look at this. Oh, he knows where to put the key in the door. And now he can turn it. Look at that. Oh, he's a really good Crown Prosecutor. He knows how to put the car in gear. Oh, look at this. He's even put it in reverse now. Look, indicate left and indicate right. Amazing. He can get himself through court proceedings and even question the defendant. But it's about as shabby as a feathered pigeon. This is Starmer's army. It's shabby. Shabby. I've seen, and then they've got all this, Judge RuPaul or whatever they've got on TV, trying to convince everyone that it's all professional. Ask, these professional judges going through all the questions meticulously. But what do you actually get in real life? Lead the country to believe it's all professional when the real cup and ball trick in the back room of Leicester Pocklington's alley is, a 2 full today in the not guilty court. You'll have to plead guilty. Oh, the old cup and ball trick. Yes, here he is. The old cup and ball trick. Oh, and I've got a month to prepare now. And oh, look, it's Sam Goosey. He's written down the wrong time on the form. He said being at 12 o'clock, and they already had the case heard at 10. But I'm on time. Oh, we've already done it. See you later. Oh, the old cup and ball trick again. The old cup and ball trick, I've got an appointment on the 28th. We've had to move it forward. And in fact, it's going to be the day after tomorrow now. Just a minute. I haven't finished preparing. Well, it's too bad for you, isn't it? The old cup and ball trick again. The old move the date forward again trick. This is it. I've seen better circuses set up. I've seen more professional circuses set up in fields. I've seen more legitimate circuses set up in fields with a camel, right, than this Pocklington's court. In fact, 3 courts have shut down. I've been into Northallerton, Chorley and Halifax, shut down. He said he would. He didn't say he will or he is going to.